fact that it is a building that's been here for a long time, 50 plus years. Been very little done to the original building itself.
Our biggest limitation right now is space. We are at capacity for classrooms.
This building was built in '67. The first graduating class came through in '68. With a 53-year-old building, having galvanized pipe running through the building, it's got 3- and 4-inch piping that life expectancy of that pipe is like 15 to 20 years.
We are sitting here today, a culmination of more community meetings, a district-wide survey, and we're looking at a $39.9 million referendum to do some additions and remodeling in the current building. If we start with the entrance, obviously security for schools is a hot topic. Once you get in the front door, you're into the building. You're not having to go through the main office and have any kind of a checkpoint there. That's something that we addressed in this referendum, that we would change and be able to secure this building and make it safer. The cafeteria, when you put 300 kids in there for lunch, it's just not a real good flow.
The lunch area it's very crowded. It takes a long time to get them through. It's just very inefficient the way we have our servery set up. If we pass this referendum, we would try to really spread the kids out a little bit more, give them some more space, and increase the serving areas.
It gives also more collaborative space throughout the building.
Back when we first started teaching, we would have all our classrooms would have basically everything's in a row, very small spaces. Now we need space. We need to be able to collaborate. We need to be able to move around.
So what we're really doing is we're preparing kids for jobs that don't exist yet. We don't know what those are, but we do know that they will need to learn to solve problems. In order to solve problems, kids can't necessarily sit in a desk facing the front and listening to a lecture all day.
We look for individuals that have the ability to collaborate well with others. So these common spaces that have been proposed in the referendum, it's a great way to build that foundation that we look for in team members that can come in and contribute. Contribute on day one when they start at organization, or I would imagine any other, because again, working with the team and coming up with the best answers collectively, that's the best way that we've seen to solve these complex problems.
My biggest challenge is my welding shop is out in the tech ed building and my classroom is in the main building. So we take attendance, I talk to them a little bit, then we have to stop class, walk across to the other building.
My classroom right now it's the biggest challenge is space. And in just specifically science, we have to, as each science teacher, we have to store all our material. We have nowhere to store it other than in our classroom. And we have some really nice equipment, it's just that we have absolutely no storage space left.
One of the big limitations with special ed, especially our higher needs special ed students, is that the main classrooms for our special ed teachers are downstairs. If we have a fire drill, we would have to ask the history teachers in the hallway nearby to help grab onto the wheelchair and carry our student out the steps up the door because you couldn't use the elevator. Our accessible restroom is within a classroom. It's not quite big enough with the needs we have coming up with the amount of space we would need for like a changing table and a shower.
We have people in closets literally for office spaces, whether it's our school psychologist or our mental health counselors. We need spaces for them.
The overall infrastructure, the stuff you don't see, when you're walking around a building, the pipes that are underneath the floor, in your ceiling tiles, those things are aging.
They designed it so that the electrical distribution panels were right next to the custodial sinks. So years of dumping water in there in the custodial sink has caused a lot of corrosion and rust in this distribution panels. Now here, in the past we've had some of the galvanized pipes fail on us, so then what we do is we cut out the galvanized and we put copper piping in its place. And again, we don't want to, it's a decision on where do you start, where do you stop, So we usually just take care of the immediate problem. We don't go any further than that. This is the main electrical distribution room for the high school. And again, as storage is such a premium, we're putting desks and other things in this space where it should be just kept just for the electrical panel. Asphalt is another thing. You look at our parking lots and people don't realize how many dollars that we have in asphalt. Just around the high school alone is like almost just under $2 million worth of asphalt. So it's very hard to get that done in our normal budget cycle as well. As far as our roofs, they are all adhered rubber roofs, so the life expectancy of them is 15 to 20 years. There are a couple that are probably approaching 23 years.
Gyms, we offer a lot of extracurriculars, okay? Not to mention that we have a vigorous Phy-Ed curriculum. We have one gym in the high school.
You know, we might often have 2 or 3 different Phy-Ed teachers with classes in the afternoon. We really only have one gym space to use. So, you know, we obviously can't have all of our classes in one gym. So it doesn't allow us the freedom to kind of give kids the choices they want to do the activities they enjoy. And the other thing is sometimes our gym is just taken. It's taken for quilt shows and band concerts and other activities where for 2-3 days or a week we may not have the gym. So again, we have kids stuck down in the basement. Additional gym space would really help with getting kids home earlier so that they can have more dinners at home, so that they can get home to do their homework and get to bed at a decent time.
The theater, we have 600 kids, 600 plus kids really in the high school. The theater currently seats 320 people. We're asking for a 500-seat theater. The school board, met after the November election and decided they'd spend from November to the December election making personal phone calls. The board came back in December and said, based on what they heard, they talked to people that were supportive of it, they talked to people that were against it, but based on all of those phone calls and sharing that night at the board meeting, the board decided to go back. Really, there's 4 key components probably to why the school board went back. The first one was the margin of defeat. We lost the referendum by 174 votes. So something that close, the board felt pretty good about. We need to go back, okay? The building needs, they don't change, okay? The referendum was defeated, but the fact that these things are needed and were recognized as needs doesn't change. We have to address these things, whether it's again here in April or sometime, in the near future. The third one would be the interest rates. They continue to go down. We were telling you in the November election that if it passed, it would cost you on $100,000 of equalized value, it would cost you an additional $53 a year. We now can tell you that if it passes in April, it will go to $45 a year. The last point is just looking back at how we got here. You go back to the spring of 2016, we put together a strategic planning committee made up of about 80 community members. They recognized it's been a lot of studying, a lot of community input to arrive at what that high school needs to be ready for the future.
As a parent and as an alumni from this school about 20 or more years ago, the school is in need of updates. Like, it's outdated for today's age and education. This referendum is really bringing this facility into the modern age where we need it to be. We need those spaces. We need that flexibility. So we just have to keep moving forward.
Having modernized facilities is really important as you think about what those facilities will do to enable the students to be at their best. Because we're really talking about building the foundation for the students that will then allow them to become successful in the future.
This is a great community. I'm starting my 12th year here, and it was the best decision I made. We want to make Medford a thriving community for the future, and that's why we're coming to you with this referendum.